Yeah. Okay, welcome to Slow Circle, November 2022. Today's theme is on grace and grit. So let's do a quick introduction with everybody here. We'll go into a meditation next, and then I'll introduce the theme. So my name is Linda. I go by she, her. I'm calling in from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And the question of the day is the weirdest Christmas gift that you have gotten. So for me, the weirdest Christmas gift, I got Hot Wheels when I was in grade 4, and I believed in Santa in grade 4. And I was a little girl, mind you, and I got Hot Wheels, which is like a race car. And I thought it was a little odd. I thought, okay, Santa must have been really busy and he must have given me the wrong present. And I couldn't play with it because it needed these huge batteries that I did not have. So it was just kind of sad. And I told my mom, I was kind of sad that Santa gave me the wrong present. She's like, don't worry, we'll go to Walmart tomorrow. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to buy a new present. And so she went to the customer service. She brought the Hot Wheels on the desk and she put the receipt and she slid it over to the cashier. And I watched this all in awe of thinking Santa must have been so smart who gave my mom the receipt in case I didn't like the present. Of course, he's just really smart. And so I ended up getting a Tamagotchi, which is like really popular at the time. It's like you raise a pet electronically. But I didn't put 2 and 2 together because Santa has to be real and he has to be smart and magical. And of course, he would give my mom the receipt. My mom didn't even try to hide this. Anyway, that's the weirdest Christmas present I got. I'm going to pass it over to Christine. Name, pronouns, where you're calling in from, and weirdest Christmas gift.
I'm Christine, she, her, coming from Seattle, Washington. I can't think of a weird gift right off the bat. I guess as a kid, it was always weird to just get money from Santa. Like, why don't she give me a toy? Like, why is it money? So, yeah, I think weird when it's like you're expecting it from Santa and it's just a practical item, like, you know, like socks or t-shirt. So as a kid, that was weird.
Cool. All right, you got money. Amazing. I'm gonna pass it over to Casey.
My name is Casey. I go, I guess, by she. I'm a girl. And I am from Huntsville, Texas, but right now I'm in Dallas. And one of the weirdest gifts I've ever gotten was, I still have it, but I don't have it with me, but it's this little, it's like this big, and it's Santa, but he comes apart and you could put candy in him. But where his mouth is, there's a hole, and so it makes it look like he's throwing up candy. Yeah, it's weird, but I don't know. I kept it.
Cool. Amazing. Thank you. Jennifer.
I guess if I could put myself in mind of a kid, I might be able to come up with something. Otherwise, they were all pretty average things. Let's see. So I'm Jennifer. I'm in Seattle. I go by she, her pronouns. Let's see. So I remember getting some really wacky clothes, and it prompted me when my daughter was younger. I was like, you're picking out. We're not doing this. I'm not going through that. But anyways, yeah, these like really strange colored clothes that went together. And now I'm like, oh, imagine, now look at what I dress in. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Erin.
Hello, I'm Erin. I'm she, her, calling from Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. And I think the weirdest gift I got was from my brother, and he calls it candy salad. It's basically one container that has all of the candies in it. He's the sugar fiend, not me. So it was, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay. And Jason?
Hello, Jason Sears, he, him, coming from Boise, Idaho. The weirdest thing I could think of was a matching set of sweaters that our whole family got from grandma one year. And I watched my mom and dad open it first, and then I got it, and I was like, oh no. I don't know what happened to those, but that's the weirdest thing I think of.
That's pretty cool. So you guys all have like matching sweaters now.
No, well, not I don't know. I have to ask and see who else has that in the family still. They did not make a comeback. We didn't ever sport those together.
Okay. All right. Cool. Nabil.
Hello. So my name is Nabil. I am a he, him, and I am checking in from Toronto for Christmas gifts. Well, I didn't grow up in a Christmas gifting country, but I am taking notes on how to actually give the weird gifts. So I'm remembering that I should be giving matching sweaters as gifts, and I should be doing what you did, what your mom did, Linda. So I have nieces and nephews. I remember to do these things. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Jazzy.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I'm Jazzy. I'm on my way as we speak from Montreal to Toronto. We're just getting into the city now, actually. And the weirdest Christmas gift that I recall would probably be an electric toothbrush. Just because it was just like the main gift from my dad, and I was just so unimpressed, and yeah, that's what I remember as far as bad gifts go. I think I've been pretty blessed and pretty lucky with some good gifts in my life.
That's pretty cool. I wonder what he's trying to say, you know? You know when you get like deodorant or like a tooth, like, thanks. What are you trying to say? Okay, Andra.
Hello, I'm Andra Heath. My pronouns are they, theirs. And I can't say I got any weird gifts, but probably the funniest gift was when I was, I think about 8 years old. I got a big, huge teddy bear. And it was at a time when I thought that people around me were thinking that I was too old for such, young gifts, but I loved it because it was huge. It came about up to here on me. I was kind of short at the time, and the teddy bear was huge. So I'm walking around with this teddy bear, and nobody can see me behind it.
That's adorable. I love that. Read
I didn't really have any weird gifts, but I have one that I've heard of, puke flavored beans, that I would like to from Harry Potter. So I would like to give them to someone if I ever find those. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Intrigued. Not sure if I want to try it. Jim.
Hi. Yeah, Jim, he, him, Seattle area. Weird gifts. I don't know that it was that weird, but I had an uncle who was a science teacher, and he used to always give me gifts that were like well beyond my age. So like I was 4 or 5 and I got like this weather station, that you'd set up outside and it would check the speed of the wind and the temperature and everything. And another year I got like a chemistry set or something. And maybe I was 5 and my mom was freaking out, I was going to kill myself with these chemicals, but I actually really loved them and I grew into them. And it was an opportunity to bond with my father, who could supervise me as I assembled this stuff and put things together. So, it was only weird to my mom, but I loved him.
I guess that increases your intelligence because you have to meet up in order to play that, you're going to have to learn.
Right. Exactly.
So
my uncle knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for entertaining that question. I have lots of information about you now. Let's go into a quick meditation. So you could turn off your cameras if you wanted for this part, but no one's really looking at you if you just feel better doing that. So just take a moment to close your eyes and place one hand over your chest and the other hand on top of that. And just relax the muscles on your face. And feel the stillness here. Hear the silence or the background noise. Feel the ground supporting you, holding you up. Feel the breath that breathes you. Feel the heart that breathes you, beats in you. These are things you don't have to think about, but life is fighting for you. Life is here for you. Life is working for you. Know that in this container of life, you are safe. Ultimately, you are safe, even when it doesn't feel like it. And that's because we get caught up in what our thoughts are telling us in that moment. But in this container of life, of earth, of this universe, you are safe. And because you are safe, you can play full out. You can have the deepest sorrows, the most fiery of fits of anger. You can do that because you're in a safe container. And you can do that to the next level. You can do that freely. And know that you are supported and you are held. Whatever happens. Take a deep breath in. And slowly open your eyes as you exhale. Thank you. Please excuse any background noise you might hear from my housemates or trucks or something passing by. This is not a studio. This is just my house. Okay, before we get into the theme of the day, I just want to go over how we can support each other in terms of like facial reactions and stuff. On the very bottom, you'll see reactions. And then from there, you can see like a clap or a heart or something like that. So at any time, if you want to support what somebody is saying, just feel free to use one of those reactions. So the other person can feel like they're acknowledged. I'm seeing a thumbs up from Jason. They feel acknowledged, okay. Or if you send a heart, like, okay, yeah, I love what you said, something like that. Or if someone is sharing something that's heavy on their heart, something I like to do with the chest pat, where I just go like this. It just means I hear you and I'm holding space for that. And I feel that. I feel that for you. Another way of saying me too, when you don't have to use the reaction of the thumbs up, is you can just give me jazz hands. Just do jazz hands when you resonate with what someone says. Are we all good for that? Can I get some jazz hands? If we're all good with that? Okay, I love your jazz hands. Beautiful. Okay, so grace over grit is tonight's theme. I want to talk about what grace and grit is. For me, grace is a feminine energy. It's about forgiveness. It's about spontaneity. It's creativity. It is go with the flow kind of energy. It is soft. Whereas grit is more, there's more direction. It's more focus. It's more structure. It is the container. It is directive. It can be harsh sometimes, or it can just be, it's hard lines, that kind of energy. None of these two are inherently good or bad. Your perception and how you use it makes it so. So grace and grit can also be defined as discipline and flexibility. And I'll talk a little bit about that after we go around with this question. Where in life do you feel grit? Where in life do you feel grit? Anyone can hop in and start sharing, and feel free to reply to each other as well. It's an open discussion.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me, is I've been in kind of a cancer battle for a few years. And so that involves like a very strict diet, nutrition, exercise, taking a bunch of special supplements, and it's expensive, and going through treatment as well. So, I mean, I'm kind of out the other side, although there's still some potential things hanging on. And that just takes a lot of self-discipline. But it's easy to be motivated, right? Because I'm fighting something that can be very negative if it were allowed to grow. So, but anyway, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Well, I'll chime in. Jim, it sounds like that's your work right now. And that's where I feel the grit too, is at work. Work is always difficult, I think, for most people, unless you really love what you do. I come from an era that we had to find someone who's hiring, not just work that we enjoyed. There were way too many workers for the amount of jobs open. So right now I'm still in one of those positions that it pays well, but it's not the most optimal for my personality, I think. I'm gritting my way through it, and it is a grit kind of a job.
I can relate to that in a different sort of way. I'll try to keep my story short here, but let's just say I got a new job after choosing to be self-employed for several years, and then realizing that it wasn't going to come off the ground quick enough. So long story short, I started working for the school district as a paraeducator. Got laid off on Wednesday because I chose to speak up for myself, because I was disrespected, I was bullied, and we won't go into the rest of it because I don't want to put that kind of energy into this group. But the grit that I'm feeling is letting go and moving through what is in my body from the experience that I went through Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, because it just, I was there to take care of these kids, and I felt like I was being treated like one. And I want to send positive energy out to the person that did all those things, because there's no need in sending any more negativity out there, but I've got to find ways to heal through this. So it feels very gritty. I'm just like, okay, one day at a time, and I'm meant to be doing other things. And so that's just the universe pushing me through to the next step. And so I'm trying to find that. So, yeah.
For myself, I'd say right now where my grit is similar to gym. It's related to my health. I had a pretty deep illness seep into me over the summer, and it really fell off all of my good habits. I was just doing what I could to, get through the day-to-day things and work and stuff. But for the past 6 weeks, I've been healing and getting back on track and getting back into those good habits. And for me, it's really the way that I start and end my day. Those routines are really my foundation, and so that's where my discipline, I think, and my grit is at the moment. And I think that's why I've been recovering so quickly.
I'll jump in next. I think along with the health finances is always an interesting one, and so is chasing your dreams. And sometimes you have to take a leap and start chasing your dreams. And in chasing your dreams, you see the finances start going down, and so you have to have you have to have grit to actually see things like that happen and see the actual um, decline of something in and be able to not panic and hold on and turn things around and make life go in the direction that you want to. So to me, that's where I'm trying to find my grit.
I could go next. For me, like honestly, like for myself, when I'm the most peaceful is when I have like a balance of both. So when I have too much of, I guess grace isn't really, I don't know, like you could say like the passive energy. If I have too much of passive energy, it becomes too passive. Like I'm like a doormat now. And then when I have like a balance of the two, I can kind of switch around. And that feels the most like that's my favorite spot to be in. So um, places where I don't have grace but only grit is probably where I have like the lowest self confidence. So like anxiety, um, a lack of trust in my higher power. So those areas I have the highest grit in, where I'm lacking the grace part. But it's also some areas where I'm lacking the grit and I'm only kind of becoming passive. And that's also due to lack of trust and lack of confidence. So when I have the balance of both, that's when I know I'm on the right track.
I have a similar share to Nabil's when it comes to finances. Anytime and I want to change this, but anytime I think about money, I feel contractive because I'm not happy with my finances right now, and I'm not happy with my current job state, aka non-existent right now. And it feels tightening. It feels grippy already inside of me. So that's something that's somewhere in my life where I'm feeling a deep grit, and I feel like I'm not the only type of person. Even if I could talk to people who are making a lot more money, but when they talk about money, they just feel contracted. And I guess maybe it's not the outside circumstances that dictate at all. It's an inner world kind of thing. If both of us have the same circumstance, if both of us have different circumstances and we still feel the same way, the grit when it comes to money, maybe it's not really an outside thing. So that's for me.
I kind of quite resonate with that piece of it's not necessarily an outside thing, because as I mentioned, chasing the dreams part is part of that finances thing. If I'm not, it's not the grit and grace won't balance if I'm not running after what I want to do in life, what my soul's calling for. And the finances, like I can make really good money. I've been offered really good jobs. It's just not what I want to do. It's, not. So it's always I really resonate with that part of that insight, like, yeah.
Did anyone else want to share on where they find grit in their life?
I'll go. Right now, I'm really feeling it in grad school. It's at that part of the semester where everything is starting to pile up. Also, I left a toxic relationship and just trying not to go back. It sounds ridiculous, but and then setting and maintaining boundaries. Those are my things I'm struggling with.
Okay, thanks for sharing. The natural next question is, where do you find grace in your life?
I'll jump in on this. Also, I really connected with a lot of people, what a lot of people shared. I feel like I was just like ditto. Yes. Grit with the finances for sure. Grace for me comes from my moments of practice, morning practice, meditation, journaling, and reflection. And I just kind of find myself in a place that's larger than myself, where I see everything that's happening as lessons to learn, and good or bad doesn't really matter. And so that's where I do feel the grace, and I really enjoy those moments.
Yeah, I had something similar to Jason. I think it might be related to my meditation practice, but and maybe just a general outlook on life. But I really become comfortable with the idea that any outcome is fine. And it really came to the fore when I was having surgery about a year ago. And it was the first surgery I've ever had where I was completely put under. And I knew that there's always a danger when you're like general anesthesia. And I didn't know how my body was going to react, because they do have some sensitivities to certain chemicals. But I was a complete calm about what could happen. It didn't bother me at all that I could not wake up or whatever. And I remember they were prepping me for surgery. They took my blood pressure, and it was, I don't know, like 105/65 or something super low. And they're like, wow, you are really calm. And I said, yeah, I'm super calm. I have no concerns at all about what's going to happen. I have complete faith that everything's going to be fine. And I had actually written an email to my wife the day before. In Gmail, you can basically have it set up for future delivery. And so I wrote an email: in the event of my death, you receive this email, that means that I died in surgery. Here's what you need to do. And so I had set that up. And but they didn't have to give me any of the relaxation medicine or anything to get ready for surgery. They just wheeled me in, and I was perfectly okay. And then the surgery went fine too. So, and then I had to remember when I woke up, I make sure I don't deliver that email. I had to go and cancel it. But I was with such calm about the possibilities. I realized, wow, I really have come to this place where any outcome is fine, and I'm fine with it in my life.
I guess I'll share. So I actually had trouble dividing in my head whether I have grit or grace. I think I've been struggling with depression and kind of melancholic kind of state since I could remember. So I've always kind of had I'm melancholic, depressed, kind of feelings. And so some days are really hard, which is the grit of just, making myself get up and do things. Although sometimes I think, the grace of just forgiving myself for those moments where I felt like I didn't do as much as I should have. And so I think I'm kind of in this tightrope of grace and grit, where it's grit, where it's a struggle to do things, but at the same time, the grace where I get into a kind of getting into, beyond myself, where it's kind of like, observing myself, or like, that's, another day like this, or it's kind of like a kind of where you feel like this is, your soul is just experiencing this human form, and so I get into a place of grace where I can just observe myself, observe that I'm struggling, yet at the same time I'm living and alive, and and I get to to experience that whatever emotion might be coming up for me that day. So I'm trying to see where that fine line is in my life right now, where it's should I have more grit or should I have grace? That's kind of where I'm at.
I think I kind of feel. Should I go? Okay. I totally feel where Christine's coming from, as well as what Ritam said before about finding the balance between grace and grit, which is why I was hesitant on the grit question, because I feel like I've just been floating, just letting everything slide, maybe to the extreme. So, because if I think about it, there are things that I could say should cause me grit, but I just let it be. So I think I need to add more grit in my life.
I actually love what you said. Oh, sorry. Please go.
I'll see if I can remember what I was going to say a moment ago, because I have short-term memory loss, but I'll do what I can. What I'm really want to find a way to put out there is how much joy I find in little moments. And I find when I put out the sad things to people, they feel sorry for me, and the happy things, they're like, oh wow, that's amazing. I live here in the middle so much of the time, but I feel like I'm still unseen, and so that's a little gritty. But the beauty of things is like spending time on the earth and the little moments with the kids that I know I made a difference, and how much of a difference they made for me was like mind-blowing. Learned so much. And seeing the progress I've made with, for lack of a better word to put it, I want to say my personal journey, because let's just say, give or take 5 years ago, somewhere in that range, I chose to say I'm going to transform, because let's just say some things that were happening in my life just didn't feel right anymore. And so I am shifting parts of my personality on purpose, and looking at my shadows and noticing and going, what do I need to do with this? And it feels way better now than it used to. It's quite fascinating to be human these days. And just a little funny thing, if I can just put it in here real quick, is I was at the grocery store today. This woman and I were talking as she was finishing checkout, and we had this look of exchange when she tried so hard to cheer up the cashier and he was just somewhere else. It was just, I felt sad for him and happy that she made the choice to try. So anyways, it was an interesting moment to observe. So I appreciate that everybody's putting themselves out here, because this is not easy stuff. So
It kind of sounds like the cashier, I mean, the woman was giving grace to the cashier. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, very much so. She was trying just to like put some spark in him. And I'm not sure. Maybe something will hit him later, but it just was evident to me that he was like somewhere else. And felt a little sad, but I was like, well, at least the two of us both tried, and that's all you can do sometimes.
Yeah. Something that came up for me when Erin, you were sharing, like having a lot of grace. I don't know what it was that you said, but I think it hit me that what if the grit only comes in our life from our thinking? Like our thinking about it creates the grit things are what they are. They're not trying to be gritty, but the resistance or the prejudice we might have against it, like for me, the money and the job situation, there's the grit, but my reality isn't gritty. It's just me creating the grit. And I think in the same fashion, we can create the grace at the same time. Grace in the hardships, grace in something just going wrong. Yeah.
You know, on creating grace, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I read an exercise in a book which was about songwriting, and it was the first exercise in that book, which was just said, show up for 10 minutes and write anything. Just show up for 10 minutes and write anything. And I've done that exercise not just for that, but then draw anything, then play anything, and I have learned in the process almost like 5 or 6 art forms in the process, just doing that. And you know, to me, part of finding grace was having that exercise, always having that exercise. Whenever it's like having a rope, like, hey, I am doing that exercise, I'm showing up every day, and I'm making improvements, and that's it. Like, yeah, I'm showing up every day. That little thing of like having something in your day, like a pin in your day, which if you show up, you've made the day, right, for yourself. To me, that's been a very powerful exercise in grace, because I always have a foundational thing in my day, you know, where I can, oh, I'm not feeling well, just go do that exercise, because then I have done my day.
Lately, I'm sorry.
Oh, I could go after you.
Sorry. Lately, I've been practicing like giving myself grace in a bunch of different areas. One of them is I'm a, I guess, recovering perfectionist. Trying to not let that take control over my life. And then practicing self-care every day, even if I don't feel like it. And then like really listening to my mind and my body. So sometimes like I can get so depressed that like it's hard to get out of bed. And so I'll do, you know, the self-care thing. And if that's the only thing I did that day, then I don't even give myself a hard time. Like I take the win for what it is.
I'm still having some trouble like trying to figure out how to define grace and grit. I guess from some of the description, it seems like grit is kind of like a feeling of resistance where you're resisting something. Let's see.
Well, that's interesting. I was thinking the same thing, that people might have different definitions, because I think of grit as the fortitude to overcome the obstacle.
Yeah,
grit,
that's what I was thinking it is.
Grit isn't the thing that you're having to overcome. It's in fact your internal fortitude to, you know, get through it. That's my definition.
Yeah, same with me. I think some of you also mentioned discipline. I think Olinda did, right? Yeah, that's like more what I see as grit too. It's like setting an intention and holding an intention. So that's like grit to me in some sense. And then grace can also be like the completion of that intention. So you finally reach where you want to be, so that you feel the grace. So it's like, I guess, different ways of looking at it. So for grace, interesting thing is, I feel like I have more grace. There are moments of grace. It's not like a continuous situation that I'm always feeling grace in. So sometimes when I feel like I've overcome like a difficult, like negative belief system, I feel a sense of grace. And then I stay there for some time, and then next negative thought comes in, and yeah, so it's like kind of like zigs, like back and forth between the two. That's how I feel my journey is like.
Thank you for sharing, everyone. I love this conversation. So yes, I did want to talk about the grit being discipline and flexibility, masculine and feminine. And I think it's really important that we have both, because an analogy that came to me one time is like, if we only work the discipline, that's like only working the bicep, but then we also have the tricep, which is the other one. So it's like you're half buff, but on the other side, you're pretty weak. But if we work both muscles, the antagonizing muscles, flexibility and discipline, then we have a strong arm. And I think it's really important to be able to have both. They're both a mental muscle. For me, I have a tendency to cling to structure. And if I can't do the structure, then I feel like really neurotic for the entirety. Like I didn't do my run today. Today is absolute crap. Like it's going to be crap, but that doesn't have to be. What if I can be flexible? What if I can practice my grace muscle that day and just be flexible with it because I wanted to do something else that day? So I'm flexing the other muscle. And why is it so hard to rest all of a sudden? It's because I'm not used to it. And then the other flip is when you have so much grace, you feel like sometimes there's not enough direction in life. And maybe that's when you want to build up the discipline muscle. So when we're able to master both, we can toggle our life. We can use toggles to create flow and ebb in different aspects of our life when we want to flow in this area or we want to ebb in this area. And so our first journal prompt, if you have your pencils and pens and journals ready, is make a list of where you have a lot of discipline in your life, and then make a list of where you have a lot of flexibility in your life. So that will be our first journal prompt. And I'll give everybody like 7 minutes to create that list. So we'll meet back in 7 minutes at 53. I'll make it 54.
Would you mind repeating the prompt again, please?
Mm-hmm. Making a list of where you have too much flexibility in your life, and then a list of where you have too much discipline in your life. Another way you might want to think of it is, where am I being too relaxed in life? Just like way too relaxed. And where am I being too grippy and controlling in life? If that helps. 4 more minutes. Okay, 1 more minute. Awesome. All right. So you can wrap that up. We'll move straight to the second journal prompt now. And it'll be another 5 to 7 minutes, I want to say, because we'll have time to share afterwards. I want to make sure we have time for that. The second one is, how can we add more grace to the parts that we have too much grit? And then the vice versa. How can we add a little more grit to the places where we're a little too grace? Structure to places where we're a little bit too relaxed. So let's do 5 to 7 more minutes. Okay, I'll give everyone one more minute to brainstorm. All right, slowly wrapping up. Reedham had to leave a little bit early, so that's okay. He just let me know. All right, so let's do some sharing around what came up. I've been saving this journal prompt until for Soul Circle. I haven't done it myself, so I was just doing some stuff myself, and I don't mind going first. What did I say? Places where I found grit, for example, exercise. I feel like I hit a certain point where it's like I have to run. It has to be a certain intensity or a certain duration, otherwise it doesn't count. So that's where I'm feeling a little bit of pressure. I'm feeling some grit. Job searching, I'm feeling grit. I'm applying to jobs that I feel like I don't want to hear from them. And I'm clicking submit, but I really don't want to hear from them at the same time. So I'm on the fence about that. I have certain things in certain orders on my house. Like, for example, my water bottle has to be filled for me to prepare at the beginning of the day, because the first thing I do is I drink a lot of water. I have my yoga mat out at all times. I have my shirt and my workout pants, just like everything has to be prepared. I'm a little bit OCD about it. So I don't know if it's causing me suffering, but I am a little OCD about it. So if somebody came over, I just feel a little bit, don't step on my yoga mat, a little bit gritty. Pressure to complete things by a certain time. So sometimes deadlines. I feel the pressure. I feel the pressure. Grace. I put Christmas in oracle cards because they bring me joy. Dancing, chatting with strangers, singing, minimalism gives me grace. Giving things away gives me grace. And also not setting a timer for meetings when I'm with friends. So a lot of times will bleed over. And I think that's where I have too much flexibility. And how I can balance the two in certain areas. Do what's joyful for exercise. So instead of going on a run that day, I can do some dancing. I don't have to like sweat buckets. Let go. You don't need that thing to be okay. I don't need this routine to be okay. Also, interesting observation of mine is structure gives me grace. The grit gives me grace because boundaries create clarity, and clarity gives me grace. Another one, the 5-second rule. When I'm watching like a episode and it just keeps going, like The Witcher is so good, and I want to watch the next one, I go, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I have to close this computer. Or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I have to get off this bed and put my computer back. And you don't think, it's 5 seconds, you do it. So that's implementing more grit. What else? Do something spontaneous. Grace. Set a timer for meetings that I meet with friends at. Forgive quickly. That's a mantra. That is really loud. I forgive you. Forgive quickly. So that's really grace. And then decide really quickly. And that's grit. I don't like staying on the fence. Decide, and if it's a wrong action, then I'll forgive quickly. But decide quickly and forgive quickly. Grace and grit. And those are my sharings, and I'd like to hear from someone else.
Well, I'll go. Mine will be shorter. This was kind of challenging for me because when I think about having too much discipline, I think, well, isn't it just the right amount of discipline? I don't know, maybe. But so I came up with, getting my daily workout in. So there's some things that I, do. Maybe I should do other things, but I take the time to get the workout in, right? So I keep my car very clean. It's just terribly necessary because I don't drive a lot. I'm really big on punctuality. So I like to be on time for things. And it's very stressful when other factors are affecting my ability to get places on time. And I do a lot of financial planning. And so probably more than I need to, because I really shouldn't need to worry about that. So those are the things where I think I have a little too much discipline. And then on the flexibility side, my office is very messy. You can't see it from where the camera is, but outside of the frame, there's a lot. It's very cluttered. And like not doing certain things around the house or the yard. So like the yard, the weeds are growing and there's projects I need to get done around the house, and I'm not giving them enough attention. And then a big one probably is caring for my parents. So I have elderly parents, and I probably don't visit them as much as I should, right? And so thinking about how to have more grace on the discipline side. When it comes to things like punctuality, one thing I have discovered and what I've learned is if I'm waiting for somebody else and we're going somewhere and I want to be on time and they're still getting ready, it's a great opportunity to meditate. So I've actually taken the time and said, you know what, this is a great time to sit down, close my eyes and just breathe and not worry about how much time it takes because I can't control it anyway. So that's been helpful. And when like on the subject of financial planning, just recognizing that there's certain things out of my control. I can't control it. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, and I'm gonna have money at retirement and not have to worry about it. So just letting go of it. And then on putting some more grit on the things where I have too much flexibility, it really comes down to scheduling time for the things that are just not as fun that have to get done. So just blocking it out, saying, okay, on Saturday, I'm going to do this. On Sunday, I'm going to do that. And just powering through it. So that's what I came up with.
Yeah, I guess I can totally relate to what you're saying on that, Jim, for sure. For me, I found this exercise really helpful because by listing out the things I have too much discipline on and the things I have too much flexibility on, it became really clear about the pattern where I'm really good with like work, choir, and these like live online workouts, which is the closest I get to something with too much discipline benefiting myself. But basically, I'm too strict about the things that other people depend on me for. And I have a lot of flexibility for the things where I'm the sole benefiter of the outcome. So, yeah. So basically, adding more grace would be that it's okay for me to not be perfect and that it's okay to put myself first at times. Yeah, and then adding more discipline. It's pushing through it, as you said, Jim. And like I specifically rewrote pushing past the fear. And that, well, because one of the things I had that I'm too flexible on is my health. I can't seem to quit smoking right now. But I'm important enough to deserve the attention for that. So, yes.
I can go next. I think for me personally, it was pretty interesting to think about this particular topic because I feel a lot of things that I have too much discipline is also where I have too much flexibility. Um, when I'm so for the stuff that I really like doing, it's like when something gets done, it's like automatically it takes over and I want to do the next one. So if I'm writing a song, if I'm painting, if I'm doing something like that, it's like I have this discipline to be flexible about it, right? I will just go do it, you know. And that's the discipline part, but that's also the flexibility part because I'm always focusing on that. On the flip side, it means that I'm often doing too many things. And the straightforward answer that came to my head was like, tier it, prioritize it, and then the next thing that came to my head was, that's such a corporate answer. So yeah, that's sometimes the challenge, right? How do you manage the grit part with heart, not necessarily just with your thinking, but also with your heart, so that the grit part is interesting to go through. um, I also resonated with the term recovering perfectionist. I will say that will end up probably end up in some song lyric somewhere, because that's a really really good line. I'm a recovering perfectionist. Yeah, just wanted to share these couple of things.
I don't
I'll
have.
go if
Oh, go ahead.
nobody else is. um so some of the things that what I think is I've been too flexible on, um wow. This situation with my ex, I feel like I've been too flexible about it. And the only way I can think to add more grit to it is by being honest with myself about what kind of life that I want and what kind of partner I want, and to not settle for what's in front of me just because I don't want to make the other person feel bad. And it's a hard thing that I'm coming to grips with, but it's one thing to write it down and it's one thing to do something about it. Another thing I feel like I've been a little too flexible on is my self-care and self-compassion. However, I think right now in this time of my life, like, I think it's okay for me to give myself extra grace and extra, or extra self-care and extra self-compassion right now. I think that it's okay to be flooding my system with it because I need it. And then another thing I've been too flexible about is my I call them my lazy days. But honestly, it's just a day of dissociating now that I'm thinking about it. It's just a day of not thinking about anything that's really in my control, I guess. And to add grit, I just give myself too hard of a time about being lazy. I need to keep giving grace to that part of me because I need to rest. And that's something that I've been learning this whole year, is just how to be okay with sloth days. That's funny. Oh, I have a sloth on my shirt. That's funny. The things that I've been too disciplined on, honestly, grad school, but I feel like that is a must just because I have to get through, and this semester's almost over. So that's kind of how I'm giving myself a little grace. Like, it's the last semester. I'm trying to be a little, or not last semester, but last month of this semester. So I'm trying to, allow the lazy days and allow, those things so I don't get too overwhelmed. Also, reminding myself of the good things that I've gotten out of grad school so far. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with all the stuff that comes with grad school, all the assignments, all the constant nagging and stuff like that. So just kind of reminding myself of all the good that's come out of grad school so far and how much I've grown is my way of adding grace to it. Another thing I put that I'm too disciplined on is how I spend my time and who I spend it with. But I don't think I need to change that because I think that me being disciplined about it means that I'm at least showing up. And that's enough grace for me. And then the last one that I feel too disciplined about, at the same time, it's one of those situations where I'm giving too much grace, but I'm also giving too much discipline. So there's too much flexibility with my ex. I feel like for some reason I have to listen to him, even though I really just don't want to. Part of me is like, I don't want anything to do with this because you're going to pull me back in. And then part of me is like, well, you should hear him out. So for my discipline and adding grace to it, decide how to handle it and actually do something so that it stops taking up mental space, because I'm tired of thinking about it and I'm tired of being a broken record and talking about it all the time. Yeah.
Well, I can go next. There are other issues around too much discipline in my life right now, but I'll just go with the first one, which is work related. Work for a while, especially, was way too busy. I had too much work on our plate. The whole company felt it. Too many emails, too many calls. I didn't even want to make an outgoing call unless I looked at my schedule first, because I had to put everything into my schedule. And if I had 10 minutes, okay, I could make one phone call. And so it was that daily, every hour of every day, for a long time. And I'm still feeling that to some extent. To add grace, I found myself taking what I've termed now, Linda, as grace breaks. I thought of that from you. Thank you. Where I will go over to the other side of my office and play my singing bowl for just 30 seconds, or spray some fragrance around that makes me breathe deeply, or moving. My side hustle has always been a personal trainer. So I enjoy moving. So I'll just do a few of these for 10, 15 seconds and I feel better. If I really get some time, then I'll take a walk and look around nature. And there isn't a lot of nature here, but people do have trees in their yard, so I look at that. Trees and flowers and bushes and things. As far as the flexibility side, I was raised by a mother who impressed upon me very strongly never to talk about yourself and never tell people what you want to do, where you want to go. Always go where they want to go and let them talk about themselves. And that was drilled into me to the point where now I can't even think about what I want to do. where I want to go. And if I do think about something, then I go by myself. I don't think to call other people and say, I want to go here. Do you want to come with me? Partly because it's a flexibility thing. I give myself a lot of flexibility in my personal time. And I'll if something comes up that I just decide spur of the moment to do, I'll go do it. If I have to call other people, then I have to wait for their schedule, and they might be doing other things, and so it's just easier to do it by myself. So I suppose I should add some grit to that. So my grit would be to once in a while talk about myself, once in a while plan ahead and ask my friends to come with me. And then if they don't want to, then go by myself. But I usually have the fortitude to do it myself anyway. There are a couple of things that give me analysis paralysis. So I have to find a reaction to that. And just at a certain point, just know that I'm going to stop and make a decision. Linda, I love your idea. I wish I could do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if the phrase decide quickly resonates with you at all. And if you made the wrong mistake, then forgive quickly. Okay. Did anyone else want to share?
I'll go. So to preface that, it was easier for me to create a list for the too much flexibility than the too much discipline. Yeah, too much flexibility. I just with my day-to-day, I really have set plans. I'm not very good at planning. Currently with too much flexibility with like my finance right now. I really want to get more grit to that. And with food and watching Netflix, I recently just moved into my own place, and I get lonely. It's I just lived with my parents and my brother most of my life, and so living on my own, it feels weird. It feels kind of like I need some kind of people talking in the background, and sometimes food, and just helps me kind of because my family's big on food. So in a way, it's kind of like filling that lack of like family next to me right now. Too much flexibility, and with throughout my life, just with relationships I've gotten into, romantic relationships, dating that with people that were not necessarily maybe the most compatible, or kind of been tend to just kind of go with the flow in general. So I said relationships in general, and my family, as my parents get older, I want to have a deeper relationship with them. But most of the times it's like, oh, what did you eat for dinner? It's always like about food. So like, what did you eat for dinner? What did you eat for lunch? Or how's the weather back there? Which is just like, 15, 20 miles away from here. But I guess the weather is different. But yeah, I would have deeper conversations with them. And just flexibility about like my professional, vocational goals and dreams. And I'm not, being a little more good on that. And that too much discipline part was a little bit harder, although the first thing that I put was like too much discipline in terms of my ideals or my ideology. I'm a big picture thinker, and so when things are not, like ideal, like why is everybody just, why isn't this like a passionate world, or why is there so much suffering, or so many things that seem like it's, obvious, like why, like it's, so like a lot of just having faith and optimism in humanity and not seeing that, or feeling that that essentially it's a dog eat dog world. So trying to let go of like my rose, I guess, the rose colored glasses kind of thing. So there's a lot of attachment, I think, in terms of the too much discipline, how things should be, or how things ought to be. And then I think I listed also just with time, I always get anxious about being late, or feeling like I need to do this at a certain time. This had to be done like 5 years ago, or I passed that timeline and now I can't do it. So it's like this anxiety about always feeling like I'm behind, or that, always kind of feeling like I'm behind. So with, and I think, too much discipline also in terms of other people, like feeling that, again, with the ideologically expecting, certain things from people, or expecting things from myself. So there's some, the expectation with outcomes, whether it's from myself or people, from like events or things. I always feel so attached to how things ought to be, again. And so with adding grit to my flexibility part, too much flexibility, just making decisions, and again, reaffirming my values. I've done like the values exercise, where you identify your values, several iterations of that. And I think I know pretty well what they are, but I guess I often just forget about them. And then just setting some goals and creating a schedule, getting organized with these things. And I put also like involving others. I don't tend to ask for help, but I've often, I guess with grit for me is just asking others, being open to asking others for help, because that's not something that comes easy to me, because I always think that I should be responsible for everything. And so I think actually asking others for help would be kind of gritty for me, because I just don't, put myself out there as much. And setting some limitations and boundaries around creating a path, so a path kind of meets those boundaries towards where I'd like to go in the future. And in terms of adding grace to discipline, I put just kind of more practicing acceptance and forgiveness, and also probably just educating myself in terms of the reality of things, or even conversing with people, and seeing how I guess just being more in the reality of the shared reality with other people, because I live in my head a lot. Letting go of expectations, just living in the moment. I don't remember why, but I put like exposing myself to others, meaning like I guess like sharing with other people, just being vulnerable, not feeling like that I'm somehow removed, because I tend to go more towards like being on my own, and kind of being an observer. So I think in a way, just kind of adding grace in terms of being more open and allowing people more in, and just sharing with others, having more conversations, more intimacy, and vulnerability. So that's what I scribbled down.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Christine. Did everybody go? Was there anybody that wanted to share that did not get a chance to?
I didn't go. I'll share really quickly. I really enjoyed this exercise. I got a lot out of it, as it sounds like everybody did. One thing that I had too much flexibility in, I felt like, was my practice, and also food. And so for food, I'm just putting a little grit into making a plan and kind of sticking to it. And with my practice, I'm thinking about having alternatives and having kind of a core that I can do. So I don't, if I'm not feeling up for doing the whole thing, I can just do some of it. And then in the discipline area, I have always been kind of an overthinker and over planner. And so I still am doing that and really enjoy it a lot. But it's, so I'm thinking about pacing things, and something I've been trying to do a lot more is thinking about the pace of things and the pace of other people that are involved in things that I'm planning, and just kind of keeping things in check there. But the biggest thing I got out of this exercise is that I felt like both in my like discipline and my flexibility areas, they were pretty close to a good space, and that I've been working really hard on myself the last year, and I feel like it's kind of, I could see some of that work, the fruits of that coming out tonight. So I appreciate having that flexibility. It gives me encouragement. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Jason. Thank you for sharing, everyone. We have like 6 more minutes just to wrap up. But something that really occurred to me, and in hearing all of your sharings, is when I heard that, when I heard from some of you that you felt like you were giving yourself too much grace, like there was too much grace in your life, what I was hearing was you are too disciplined on judging the parts of you that are naturally so amazingly graceful. Like, do you see how much grit you have? Like, you have a lot of grit. A lot. Especially if you feel like a lot of judgment around something that's really beautiful. And I think I'm guilty of that too. Food for thought? So maybe you have some grit in you. Like, naturally. Grace and the grit. Grace and grit. To round out tonight's practice, I would just like to hear like a 10-second, 20-second answer to the question, what did you learn about yourself today?
I'll give you a really funny one. I was playing along with both Christine and Jason as they were speaking. I was playing the guitar. Christine speaks at about this pace, and Jason speaks at about this pace. And the funny thing is, you can play along with them. Throughout their whole speech, I was in tempo. They speak in tempo with all the breaks and everything.
Personalized backing track.
I actually do this for comedians downtown on open mics. So, yeah.
Funny.
So the question was what was the question what we're taking
What
away?
did you learn about yourself today?
Learn about myself, that I have been growing. That's what I've learned.
I learned that I'm not giving myself a hard time about things that I used to, which is great.
I learned that there are some things that I need to perhaps adjust my priorities on, but at the same time, I'm still okay with it all.
I've learned that I actually know what to do. Like I know what to do. I always think like I don't know what to do, but I know in my heart what I need to do.
Yes.
I'll try to be quick because I know sometimes I say that and then I don't. This one's going to take me time to wrap my head around it and put different context in it in another part of life, but I'll just say allow more time for flow, because I think I have so much actual time structure in my life that I get caught up in that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. I haven't been outside. I haven't done anything really fun. So anyways, boundaries are healthy and good things can happen when you allow yourself to have boundaries. That's a huge thing I've been working on anyways. I don't have time to explain all this, but let's just say spaciousness in life feels really good. And kind of going along with what Jason said, I've learned a lot about myself over the last couple of years, and I'm really enjoying the personal journey and just being in it and digging into some of the things that used to feel like really rough. Now it's like, oh, it's just normal. Thank you for doing this, I have to say. It's great.
Thank you for sharing. I think something that's reaffirmed for me is grace and grit. Grace and grit. It's not just one, and it's not just the other.
Yeah, I think that's my takeaway from this whole exercise, and I thank you for that, Linda, is that when you first started out talking about grace and grit, I was thinking of grace as something positive and grit as something negative. And then you said, and you set up this whole scenario where we were forced to use one to balance out the other. So there should be no judgment, positive or negative, on either one of these things. You just have to find the right balance, and one can be used to balance out the other. I like that. Thank you.
Yin and Yang, and it's a voluntary choice. You can choose the grit. Sometimes I like choosing the grit. Feels damn good. Would anyone else like to share something like 10 seconds long about what they've learned about themselves today?
Can I just ask a quick question? Can we hear your guitar? Well,
Please.
and then anybody's welcome to share, of course. I just want to hear it because
Nabil, drop your Instagram handle in the or like your social profiles if you have any in the chat box. And does anyone else have anything else to say? If not, I think that was a great wrap up.
Yeah, it was a great way to wrap up.
It was fabulous. All right. Wow. Thanks for doing the invite, Jennifer, and thank you for the play, Nabil. And that rounds up Soul Circle November. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited for the next one if you do come. It'll be the first Saturday of December, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you want to come. But thank you so much. I really hope that tonight's journaling prompts has really shifted the way that you see things or the way that you go about things in your day-to-day life, and choose something practical for yourself to do to implement more yin to the yang or the yang to the yin. Okay? All right. Yeah, I'm seeing some great Instagram drops here. Okay. And that's all. Thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Bye.
And that wraps up Soul Circle November 2022. So key takeaways: finding grace in the grit and grit in the grace, the yin and the yang. It becomes a voluntary choice. And if you feel like you are someone who just has no structure in your life, like you got like you're always grace, 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 I would say you got so much discipline in the judging of yourself for having that grace. You have a lot of grit. Namaste.